Development of grasping. The development of grasping is an important part of fine motor development. As infants and toddlers develop, they progress through different types of grasping. Children are born with a palmar reflex grasp. It is an involuntary reflexive response present in newborns, but begins to appear around 16 weeks gestation. To elicit the reflex, a caregiver can use their finger to stroke the palm of the infant. The palmar grasp reflex comprises two phases: finger closure and clinging. The infant's fingers undergo flexion to enclose the examiner's finger, and the pressure applied to the palm produces traction on the finger's tendons, leading to the clinging action. The thumb is not involved in this reflex. The palmar grasp reflex disappears typically by 6 months of age, signifying healthy brain maturation, and is replaced by the development of voluntary grasping. The palmar reflex probably serves to create a basic motor pattern that lays the foundation for obtaining later grasping ability. Additionally, it creates interaction and bonding between the infant and the caregiver. The palmar reflex grasp is replaced by the ulnar grasp, which is a clumsy motion in which an infant's fingers close against the palm. The ulnar grasp typically develops around 3 to 4 months of age and increases infants' ability to explore objects. As infants learn to sit independently, both hands are freed up to explore objects. Therefore, around 4 to 5 months of age, infants are able to transfer objects between their hands. The pincer grasp is when the pointer finger and the thumb squeeze together to grasp an object. Infants are usually able to perform a pincer grasp by the age of 9 to 10 months. With each change in grasping ability, infants are able to interact with different objects and in new ways. For example, the ulnar grasp only allows for larger objects to be held onto, while the pincer grasp permits an infant to pick up smaller objects. To support infants, caregivers should carefully observe infants' grasping progression and provide materials that can easily be manipulated based on their current grasping techniques. Active object exploration emerges around 3 to 6 months of age, with the onset of reaching and grasping. At 6 months of age, infants spend the majority of their time mouthing and grasping objects, and this sharply declines with concurrent improvements in complex manual exploratory behavior such as fingering, transferring, and rotating objects. As a result, caregivers should provide young infants with materials that they can easily grasp onto and that are safe for mouthing. Once infants begin to sit and develop more complex grasping techniques, such as the ulnar grasp, caregivers should provide materials that are more complex in design characteristics, but still light, easy to hold onto in one hand, easy to transfer between hands, and safe for mouthing. Infant exploratory behaviors are influenced by object properties including size, shape, texture, and weight of objects. Infants change their grasping patterns depending on object size. Smaller objects are grasped unimanually, and larger objects are grasped bimanually. Research has demonstrated variation in infants' grasping patterns based on object structure, such as two-handed grasp for larger objects and pincer grips for smaller and softer objects. Additionally, 12 to 14-month-old infants showed appropriate anticipatory changes in grasp formation based on object shape and size. 9 to 12-month-old infants explored object properties such as shape, size, and texture by rotating, fingering, and transferring objects, whereas they explored properties such as weight, sound, and rigidity by banging and shaking objects. This research suggests that with older infants, caregivers should provide materials that are more complex in design and diverse in characteristics such as size, shape, texture, and weight. As older infants use their developing grasping abilities to explore materials, caregivers can continue to observe how they interact with the materials and provide materials based on what characteristics infants seem most interested in exploring. The figure on the screen shows various manipulative objects: cardboard tube, wood clothespin, metal jar lid, plastic bottle lid, cork, plastic hair curlers, wood ring. As you look over the objects, consider which objects would best support the different grasping abilities of infants. For infants using an ulnar grasp, which objects would be best to share with them? For infants using a pincer grasp, which object would be best to share with them? How might the physical properties of each object change how the infants explore them?